Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description. But in today's video, I wanted to talk about the huge amount of new polls that we got yesterday. The video, the time you're seeing this will be on a Thursday, but I am recording this on the Wednesday prior, and we had a huge amount of polls today. As you can see, pretty much every single one of these polls in the aggregate here on RCP came out today. We had a Grinnell-Seltzer poll, which is rated A+ on FiveThirtyEight, showing Biden up by 8. We had Rasmussen, which formerly had Biden up by 1, now has him up by 4. That's not overall a very good poll and usually favors Trump quite a bit. The USA Today Suffolk poll, which is also an A-rated poll, had Biden up 7. Quinnipiac, which isn't the best poll, it is B+ rated, but he usually does overestimate Democrats, did have Biden up plus 10. The Hill-Harris X had Biden up plus 6. It was formerly Biden plus 9. It is now plus 6, but they do overestimate Joe Biden's support amongst independents, so it overall is not the best poll. We do have this Emerson poll here that did have Biden up by 2. It was not released today. It was released a couple of days ago, but it also had some, very questionable results, such as Joe Biden, only getting 70% of the black vote to Donald Trump getting 30%, and Donald Trump getting 40% of the Hispanic vote, which is not very realistic at all. We had a new CNN poll here, which is not a very good poll overall. CNN does, bounce around it a lot. It went from Biden plus 5 to Biden plus 14 to Biden plus 4, now at Biden plus 8. So I wouldn't trust the CNN poll too much. It also has Biden winning independents by a bunch, so don't necessarily trust that too much. IBD-TIPP also had Biden up plus 8. They don't give the crosstabs for their polls, so you can't actually interpret this too much, but it is registered voters, so it may overestimate Joe Biden a little bit. And we also have the Economist YouGov poll finally here. This is the most recent poll done, and this poll had Biden up by 11 points. It actually was overall a good poll. Some of their polls, have Joe Biden losing independents by 10, but winning by 10 overall, which does not make much sense. So that's a very quick and, simple analysis of the polls right there. And looking at overall how it affects the map, currently Joe Biden is up by 7.2% in the national average, which if you look at it, is actually more or about the same as what Barack Obama won the national popular vote by in 2008. In 2012, he won by about 4 or just under 4 percentage points. In 2008, he won by just over 7 percentage points. And at this point, Joe Biden is winning by 7.2 percentage points in the polls. He's currently at 49.6% to Donald Trump at 42.4%. And one of the very interesting things we have to note with this is that if you go back to 2016 and you look at the races from 2016, Hillary Clinton did not have anywhere near the support Joe Biden has. So, for example, at times when Hillary was up by 7%, this even happened and occurred in around late October or, mid-October, Hillary Clinton was up by around 7%, but she did not have 49.6% of the vote. She would have had much lower, rates than that. And the reason for that is there were so many more undecided voters. That is the reason why polls were so off in states like Wisconsin, for example. Wisconsin had Hillary Clinton winning by almost 7 percentage points. She ended up losing the state by 0.7 percentage points, or 0.9 percentage points. And well, what was the reason for that? Well, out of all those, swing states, Wisconsin was the state where the undecided voters broke most of Trump, and we did not even have any polls in the last week. So this is a very promising sign for Joe Biden that his support is very strong, his support is very stable, and they look to be quite unwavering. They have not really, swayed from him too much. Sure, Donald Trump was down at his peak around almost 10 percentage points. I believe the peak was around 10.1, where Joe Biden was at 51% on June 24th. But you have to remember what was going on back then. You had the riots that were very widespread. Trump's response to it was very unpopular. You had the coronavirus was peaking. You had the economy was still in a bad position. And sure, you can argue a lot of those things are a lot better than that now, and that can overall help Trump. And we'll have to wait and see about that, but that is very possible. But so far, we're just not seeing it. You see, Joe Biden was, up by a little bit more. He fell around to the 8-point range. He was then, down even in the 6-point range. And now he stayed around the 7-point range here. And we have a lot of polls that kind of concur with each other and kind of aggregate each other out to show that Joe Biden still has a very steady lead. And a lot of people were talking about a convention bump, how Donald Trump had a lot of momentum and enthusiasm growing because of the convention. That's not seemed to have happened. If we look at, a week ago from today, Joe Biden was up by, virtually the same amount as he is now. He was up 7.4% on August 25th, 7.1% on August 25th, and now September 2nd it is. A week later, Joe Biden's also up by 7.2. And, we've had many polls that have done polls before the convention, after the convention. It doesn't show any difference. And sure, you could say, Quinnipiac's poll is closer, switching from registered voters to likely voters, as well as Emerson's poll being closer. But overall, the gist of it is Joe Biden is in a very strong position. But the thing is, Joe Biden's up by 7% overall in the national average, but can that actually give him a win? Because we know back in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2%, and she ended up losing the election. Now, this is a very important thing to note. From Nate Silver, who runs the 538 model, he, had a very interesting take on Twitter. Look at this. So, in the 2020 averages in terms of the polling data, California, Joe Biden has a 31.5% lead in the polls. In 2008, Barack Obama won this state by 24%. In Massachusetts, Biden's currently leading by 34.1%. If you look at in 2008, Barack Obama won this state by 25.8%. We see the same thing here in New York. Joe Biden has also improved on Barack Obama's margins. Washington, Joe Biden has also improved on Barack Obama's margins. Finally, New Jersey. We haven't had much polls from Illinois, but, you can also add Texas into the mix, how Joe Biden will probably, improve on his Texas margins, but he won't end up winning the state. And, he can improve on his Georgia margins. He can improve on his Arizona margins, but they may not make a difference electorally. And so what it shows here is that this adds about 1.5 extra points to Joe Biden's popular vote total. So, assuming those swing states go by the same margins that they did in 2016, Joe Biden would effectively win the popular vote by, 3.5 at least at that point, just due to his gains in these huge states. For example, if we look at Texas, for example, Hillary Clinton lost the state by 9 percentage points. If Joe Biden gains 1%, that is thousands of, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of votes. That makes a difference on the popular vote margin. So people who support Biden, people who are hoping Biden will win, do have to be wary about this. And if we look at this further tweet down here, if Joe Biden wins the popular vote by 0 to 1 percentage points, he has just a 6% chance of winning. 1 to 2 percentage points, 22% chance. 2 to 3 points, 46% chance. But then even if it's 3 to 4 points, 74% chance. 4 to 5 points, 89% chance. So there is a chance that Joe Biden can win the popular vote by 5 percentage points, and he could still lose the Electoral College. And that would entirely be from gains in California, New York, Texas, Massachusetts, Washington, you name it, New Jersey, Illinois, those kinds of states. Joe Biden would gain in those big states, but not necessarily gain, at the levels he needs to in some of these swing states. And obviously, if he wins at 7 points, he's going to end up winning the popular vote. But that is something that people have to watch out for. But all of these polls showing a still steady lead for Biden, he's still dropping in many of these swing states. If you look at Michigan, for example, Joe Biden's numbers are still, falling a little bit. They've still gone down to 68%. Wisconsin, where you had many of these protests, we had a recent poll from Fox News just released, at the time I'm watching this, showing him at, ahead by 8 points according to the Fox News poll. And sure, it's brought him up a lot, but he's already tanked so much. He was at 67% on the 20th of August. 24th of August even, he was at 64%. He fell all the way to 55, and now he's just recovered to 58. But, this is why you can't necessarily listen to the betting odds. I did not want to cite them even when Joe Biden was winning them, and I'm not going to try and cite them too often when Trump gains big ground in them either, because they don't necessarily actually, affect reality. They're not based on reality. People thought, oh, the riots in the streets are going to help, Donald Trump because that's a foreshadowing of what Joe Biden's America will look like. Well, that doesn't really, have a basis in reality, and it's not being shown in the polling data, although some people have said that. And, Joe Biden, I assume, will start to go back up in the betting odds once people realize that. But we did have many new polls today. Wisconsin +8, that would be a likely margin for Biden. Arizona +9, that'd be a likely margin for Biden. We're putting, at that point, Michigan's going likely, Pennsylvania's going likely. This is not necessarily going to happen. But even if you assume Texas goes to Joe Biden by a likely margin, so does Georgia, goes by a lean margin. Even, Donald Trump wins Florida, Donald Trump wins North Carolina, Donald Trump wins Ohio, Donald Trump wins Iowa, and even if North Carolina and Michigan are close, and I know I've been through scenarios like these many times, Joe Biden still gets a win from these states. If you look at Fox News' poll in 2018, they were accurate or even overestimated Republicans a little bit in the state of Arizona, and they now have him up by 9 percentage points. The state of Wisconsin, you don't have many undecided voters, and he has them up 8 percentage points. What room is there for Trump to gain? You're not going to assume the poll is going to be 8 percentage points off. So overall, the point of this video is just to paint a pretty grim picture on Trump's re-election chances. You had this, convention that was supposed to give him a lot of ground game, ground gaining back on Joe Biden, and that's not seemed to have been the case. And he's going to have to make gains in Pennsylvania. And sure, we saw that Monmouth poll today showing that Joe Biden was actually only ahead by 4 percentage points in Pennsylvania. But there's many other things, showing how Joe Biden's still maintaining these big leads in Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida, and North Carolina. And, Joe Biden only needs a couple of those states to end up winning the election. And so the gist of this video, again, is that, many people see there's an upward momentum for Trump. The betting odds are showing it. Many people think it individually. I would not necessarily buy that. I still do think Joe Biden is in a very good position. If you saw my prediction the other day, my battleground map, I did flip Florida into the Trump column. I would almost flip it back into the Biden column now, because I do believe Joe Biden is still in a very strong position. He's maintained a steady lead in the national polling, and he's still doing solidly in the state polling. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description. So again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.